Alright guys, we are going to talk about Unit 5, Day 1, Introduction to Polynomials, and our essential question for today is what are polynomials and how do we classify them? How can we evaluate them? There's 3 questions there, so that should be exciting for us. Just to let you know, we are looking at these notes. We are looking at the Unit 5, Day 1 notes, and they will say Introduction to Polynomials. They should be the first set of notes that you have in the packet that you've got. So, go ahead and if you need to pause at any time to write down any of the words that are in red, please feel free to, but for the sake of the video, we're going to plow through this. So, polynomial is an expression with many terms. And the next word that we have is going to be standard form, which means the terms are written in descending order according to the exponents. An example of a polynomial written in standard form is going to be 2x to the third power plus 5x to the second power minus 4x plus 7. So I want you guys to notice that right here, as these exponents get smaller, so basically really big numbers go on this side and then they get smaller as we continue to look to the right. Next we have degree, which is the highest exponent. Notice here that 3 is the highest exponent, so that is our degree. Our leading coefficient is the number in front of the variable with the highest degree. That number is 2. You can see that right here. The constant number is not connected to a variable. It's by itself, and it is always the last term, and it stays constant. This is going to be our constant. Another thing that you can think about 7 when you're talking about constants is that this is a number that's not hiding anything from you. It doesn't have an exponent and it doesn't have a variable. This is literally what you see. It is constantly going to be 7. Think of it that way. In your notes, right here, if you guys take a look, if you guys see this right here, you need to make sure that you label that, and this is what you would label it as. You're going to label where the leading coefficient is, the degree, and the constant. Let's go ahead and we'll move into the examples of writing polynomials in standard form. Remember, this is greater to least. So for A, we're going to rewrite that as negative 2x plus 5. The reason it is negative 2x plus 5 is because it says minus 2x. That sign is going to travel with the 2x as we move it over, and it becomes negative 2x plus 5. And then we have, right here where our negative 4 plus 2x to the second power is going to be 2x to the second power minus 4. Notice that the sign continues over. We are not adding negative 4, we're just saying it minus is 4. Right here we have x plus 5x squared plus minus 7 minus 4x to cube. So that's going to be rewritten as negative 4x cubed plus 5x squared plus x minus 7. Again, we took everything from the greatest exponent down to the least exponent. And then on D, we have x cubed plus 5x squared minus 7 minus 4x plus 6x to the fourth. And we're going to rewrite that as 6x to the fourth plus x cubed plus 5x squared minus 4x minus 7. Alright, if you need a moment to go ahead and make sure you write that all down, please do. We're moving on. Classifying polynomials. So on your notes, we're going to be right here. We're going to be right here on classifying polynomials. And what you're going to do is right next to all those x's with the exponents next to it, you're going to write down the red words, which are the terms for them. And then on the top it says the degree of the polynomial tells us what type of polynomial it is. So again, we have x to the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or higher. And then, as you can see, x to the 0 powers can be referred to as a constant, followed by linear, quadratic, cubic, quartic, and then polynomial. Anytime you have something that's over 4, it's always going to be referred to as a polynomial. Poly, if we broke down that word, is always going to be many, and numial is going to be numbers, many numbers. Think of it that way. The number of terms of a polynomial tells us what type of polynomial it is. So we have 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, or 4 or more terms. Again, if we take a look at 4 or more, we've got that polynomial thing going on. 1 term is monomial, the next one is binomial, and then trinomial. So we're going to classify all of these. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do it on your own. And let's take a look at the first one. So our first term is going to be leading coefficient with 1. As constant is 1, that makes sense. The degree is 1, that also makes sense. Number of terms is 2, there are 2 terms there. and the type is a linear binomial. Once you notice that there are no exponents, if you're wondering why the leading coefficient is 1, there's always an invisible 1 that is in front of our variable, especially when we don't see anything. Let's take a look at the next one. So leading coefficient is 2, constant is -5, makes sense. Degree is 2, that's our highest exponent. Number of terms is 3, there are 3 terms here. And the type is a quadratic trinomial, and you can see that right here. Let's take a look at 6 to the x squared, and that leading coefficient is going to be 6. That's 6 right there. Its constant is 0. There are no constants here. The degree is 2 because that's our exponent. And number of terms is going to be 1. There's only 1 term here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, which is going to be, oh, sorry, we forgot to say what type it is. This is our type. And the next one, let's see, we have leading coefficient of 2, makes sense. Constant is -5, we do have a -5 here. The degree is going to be 3 because that's our highest exponent. Our number of terms is going to be 4, there are 4 terms here, and the type is going to be a cubic polynomial. Example 2 for classifying polynomials. You guys are going to see this on the second page of your notes. It's going to be right here. Oh, sorry. Right here it says classifying. And we'll go ahead and get that done. So our first one is going to be leading coefficient of 1. Makes sense. There's a invisible 1. Our constant is 5. There's our 5. Our degree is 2. Our power is to the 2. Number of terms is 2. There are 2 terms there. And this is our type right here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Leading coefficient is 2. There's our 2. Constant is -5, which is here. Our degree is 3 because that's our highest exponent. Number of terms is 3. There are 3 terms here. And our type is going to be the cubic trinomial. Let's take a look at 5. 5, leading coefficient, is nothing because there is nothing for it to be coefficient with. Constant is 5. It's 5. Our degree is 0 because there are no exponents. And our number of terms is 1. There's only 1 term here, and it is 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at this next one right here. Oh, sorry, I forgot our constant binomial. So, it's okay. So, let's go ahead and we'll do this. Our leading coefficient is 2. Our constant is -6. Our degree is 4, because that's our highest term. You can see that right there. Our number of terms is 4. That makes sense. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 terms here. And our quadratic, and it is a quartic polynomial. I can never say this right. And then remember that our constant is going to be -6 because it says -6. All right. Let's see, we are on example 3 of evaluating polynomials. And just to let you know, it's going to be this part of your notes right here is the very last example. And we are going to evaluate it by taking right here, if you see this, where it says x equals 2, we are going to replace all these x's right here with 2. So let me show you. So, again, I have replaced all these x's with 2. This becomes 2 times 2 to the third power, 3 times 2 to the second power, minus 5. If you guys remember your PIMDOS, what we do is we do anything that has to involve exponents or parentheses first. So this is now going to be 2 to the third power, and this is going to be 2 to the second power, which is going to give us 2 times 8 plus 3 times 4 minus 5. If you were confused about how we got there, please come find me. I will re-explain it to you. We go ahead and we do that multiplication, which gives us 16 and 12 minus 5. And that turns into 28 minus 5, which gives us 23. This is how you evaluate the polynomial, by basically taking the x's and substituting for the term that is given. That is what you are doing when you evaluate. Let's do the second one. So again, we're going to go ahead and replace all these x's right here with -1. We are going to have 2 times -1 to the fourth, 3, minus 3, 2 times -1 to the third, plus 2 times -1 minus 6. So one thing that you need to pay attention to is our negative sign. And the reason for that is going to be because, oops, my bad. It's because this turns into 2 times a positive 1. And that is because anytime you take a number and you times it by itself when it's negative, it becomes positive, right? So, and the one thing I want you to pay attention to is if the exponent is even and this number is negative, it will always be positive. But if the exponent is an odd number and your number it is being multiplied by is negative, it will still be negative. Alright, don't let that confuse you. Anyway, so this turns into 2 times 1 minus 3 times negative 1 minus 2 minus 6. We're going to go ahead and do that math. That gives me 2 plus 3 minus 2 minus 6. Why did this become a plus 3 right here? Because this is a negative 3 times a negative 1. Negative times a negative gives me a positive, so it's 2 plus 3 minus 2 minus 6. And that gives me 5 minus 2 minus 6. And that gives me 3 minus 6, and if you know what's coming, it's going to be a negative 3. So in the summary portion of your notes, I need you to go ahead and respond to the essential questions. I need you to answer all 3 of these. What are polynomials? How do we classify them? And how can we evaluate them? If you are not sure about how to do any of this, please come find me in class and I will explain it to you.